overall in the markets, we got a nice little pop in here today. Nice ending to the week. Overall, we got our volatility this week, and we also got our bullish end to a shortened week. That's what we were kind of expecting. So we kind of got the best of both worlds this week and what we expected. But what does that mean for us going into next week? So over this long weekend, what are we going to be looking at here on the weekly chart? Well, first up is going to be this 9-day EMA. That's going to be our blue line right here. That's sitting at 663.55. Anything outside of there, we're looking up here at this 672. To the downside, we have 652 range that we do need to hold. And if not, then we're looking at this 50-day SMA. But good news, even though we did break down below that and close below it last week, this week we opened below it and then breached and closed above it. So that is good news, but we are going to need to hold that next week so we can kind of continue this leg higher. RSI has gone back to neutral here on the weekly chart, and our volume is here a little bit more above average, more or less. So we do still need to keep that volume up. We don't really care if our RSI kind of stays neutral in here, but we do need to come with some volume in here, and we kind of get back up to that 9-day EMA and perhaps breach that next week and hold to kind of climb higher. More or less, your net flow and everything today kind of popped there midday. We went from about 650 to about 656 in our SPY, and then basically from there, everybody just kind of gave up. So that's kind of what happened across the board. So we kind of started out bearish, had that nice little pop with that bullish net flow, and then everybody just kind of said, you know what, we're done for the day. Nice long weekend. Let's take our gains. So that's more or less kind of what happened in our net flows. We're going to look at Apple. That's more or less what the net flow did in here as well. To the upside in here in Apple, what are we looking at? Well, we are above that 9-day EMA just barely. So our next point of resistance is going to be up here at that 259. Anything outside of there, we're looking at 265. To the downside in here, we are going to be looking at that 253 area. And then basically it's going to be this lower trend line here on this overall structure. Our touch point is going to be coming here about 3 weeks ago. We did have to adjust this. So that is what we're looking at for a lower trend line, 249. We can see we opened basically right on that this week and then had a little pop up from there, although we did breach it for just a short period of time with this wick. But that is what we're looking at to the downside. Anything outside of there, it's going to be 245 or this 50-day SMA. We're also going to take a look at Amazon. We're going to see if Amazon did climb back into our overall structure from last week, and it did. So we're going to leave this lower trend line on in here. And you can see that now we're butted up right up against this 9-day EMA. That's currently trading at 210. Anything outside of there, we're going to be looking at 218 and then this 50-day SMA. To the downside in here, we're going to be watching that 208.49. That seemed to have a lot of weight for us in the past here, going back to last year. But then anything outside of there, it is going to be this lower trend line of this overall structure coming off the touch point here in February. Since we did climb back into that, we're going to keep this here, although we could adjust it down here more or less. Where do you want your trend line to be? You want it to be at 203 or do you want it to be at 200? You know, we're just going to keep it where it is. It doesn't really matter. Those 2 points in there, give or take, everybody kind of overshoots the supports and resistances anyway. So you basically have a $2 wide channel you can kind of play with there. Anything outside of that, though, we are going to be looking down here right around that 197 and then this 189 eventually. There is a stock in here that was kind of interesting today. Everybody was kind of talking about because we did have a 7% pop in here today. It's going to be TLRY trading at 655. But more or less what I'm looking at, I am a contrarian. So when everybody gets excited about something, obviously my first instinct is to fade. But what I'm looking at here overall on this weekly chart is, hey, we need to consolidate more here. So if we get a little bit of a pop in here to the upside, obviously we want to see the 750s, but we need to really kind of consolidate just a little bit more, get things in here a little bit tighter. You can see our 50-day SMA right here, our 9-day EMA, our Bollinger Bands. They're starting to tighten up, but we're going to need a little bit more consolidation. We have to see if this lower trend line here, this touch point that came from 3 weeks ago, is actually going to hold or not. If it does, then we can start working our way up from there, but we're gonna need a little bit more consolidation here before we get a nice run. So don't expect these 10 or 11 handles here anytime soon, but a nice overall day in here and a nice hold of this lower trend line is good news for us overall on this front. RSI in here sitting basically at 39, so more or less it's kind of in between neutral and oversold. So what do you do with that? You just kind of wait and sit it out, right? You got to let these moving averages start to converge a little bit more and then go from there. We're also going to look at JMIA here on the weekly chart. This is another low trading stock. as far as price wise. We're down on the day. We're below that $7 handle. And we're trading right outside this lower trend line right here. So going forward, that's going to be our first area that we do need to climb back in. So we're going to see where we open up next week. And you do have this 9-day EMA crossing below this 50-day SMA. So that's not a good sign. But if we can hold this lower trend line next week, we can kind of work our way back up to this overall $8 area. That would be good news for us. If not, then look for us to continue downward. And here we have this 200 SMA. That should catch us here right around those 550s. If not, then there's really nothing holding us back from touching these 383s. Your RSI is in here at 36. Your average or your volume is basically average from where it's been over here in the past couple months or so. So don't expect anything out of this, but it's just interesting to see that more or less you have this and TLRY, kind of two stocks that are trading the same. But one is going into a consolidation period, and then JMIA here definitely needs to consolidate and needs to definitely hold a few key levels so it can kind of continue upward. And that's kind of what we're looking at overall. So overall on this week, we'll take what it gave us, right? We got the volatility, we got our bullish end, and we'll see where we open up next week. So everybody enjoy your extra long weekend. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you are interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.